I did this correctly. I have to click this button. Okay, now I think I did this correctly. I don't know why when streaming on YouTube, on OBS you have to like click start streaming and then this thing says go live and then you have to click that afterwards, but I guess this works. If you're watching the stream or watching the video, welcome back for Advent of Code 2022. Today is day 2. You know, in the first, I guess, like third of the month, it's generally pretty straightforward puzzles, so I don't think there's anything too outrageous that we'll be expecting. I will say that... Okay, good, I just confirmed that the stream's actually up, so that's always good. Especially given that the first problem wasn't just a completely straightforward problem where each of the, like, kind of one line, the typical competitive programming, one line is like one thing to solve, and then you do something with all the lines, or for example, the whole input is just a given line. There's something a little more non-trivial, I guess, where you have to break the thing into a bunch of paragraphs. I somewhat anticipate that the earlier problems here are not going to be difficult in the sense that there'll be tricky problems, but there might be some more interesting inputs. When I was going through some of the old problems from maybe it was 1 or 2 years ago, there was one where the problem was based around like a ticket, and you have to like parse the ticket or something, and it was some like ASCII art. I don't quite remember. But yeah, shouldn't be anything special today. As usual, we just try to go fast, we try not to write bugs. Yep. I guess a real question is, what is this picture going to turn into? We see here some teal tildes. Could this be water? Could this be water on the ground and something else up here? Who knows? Only time will tell as we unlock more of this picture. I've written a quick script inspired also from Beta Veros, just to download the input. So even though my the wrapper script here will download the input and have the ability to run things against it automatically, one thing that is nice is that when clicking on the problem to view the problem text, being able to see the input simultaneously. In the past, that's something I've never really actually used the kind of dual window layout to take advantage of, having something in the background automatically load the problem input and display it. Previously, I've like done this kind of thing where I click the new problem and then I scroll down and then I click get your input and then show the input. But at least this way, I'll be able to glance over at the problem input here while also reading the problem, assuming the script that I threw together in about 2 minutes works. Writing batch scripts is very painful. I forgot how painful it actually was. But yes, anyways, we will see what today's puzzle is and try not to make silly mistakes like we've already done in part 2. But new day, new problem, so we'll see what happens. Your opponent will choose and you should choose rock. Ugh, I did this bad. Already kind of unhappy with how I decided to do this. So it would be... Oh, it's... plus this... Okay, made this kind of convoluted. X is worth 1, Y is worth 2, and Z is worth 3. And then it's 6. And then a loss is 0. It's just... it's a draw, so... 3 plus... oh my goodness. Really? Oh, I have the reverse mapping. Oh my goodness. X means you need to lose. Okay. So X is we need to lose, so this actually gives us what we want. Y is draw. Okay. So if it's rock... oh, I did it backwards. Oh, okay. So... somehow I got points on part 2, not on part 1. I think. Oh. Okay, we snuck into number 100, top 100 on part 1, even though I very much fumbled the input. Part 2, the fact that I structured this in such a weird way actually lent itself to doing okay on part 2, even though I had the reverse mapping of what I thought things were. I'm just gonna wait for the leaderboard to fill up. But I'm somewhat pleased. We actually scored points. I wasn't even looking at what the winning or the message was that got printed out, because I just assumed that it was so slow that it wasn't scoring anything. But currently, leaderboard should be done. Yep. Okay, it's closed. We've moved up to top 50 today. Off that performance, feels good. Beta Veros moving their way up to number 1. Robert Jiao still doing well, very cool. Okay, let's talk to the problem, I guess. So, my script to print the inputs was really helpful because as the problem page was loading, I was able to look at this and kind of identify that the input was likely each row we had to do something because it all looks fairly homogeneous across rows. And the first row seemed to be either like ABC, or sorry, the first column was like ABC, or the second column was X, Y, Z. And so the problem is something about rock, paper, scissors. And I got thrown off a bit by the fact that this said strategy guide. But essentially, in part A, the question says, your opponent is going to play either rock, paper, scissors, which is given by A, B, or C. And your play is going to be either rock, paper, scissors given by X, Y, Z. And so the flavor text kind of threw me off about strategy guide, which it made me kind of think I would have to do what was in part 2. But all part 1 is basically asking score the game. So given the fact that your opponent plays A, which in this case is rock, and you play Y, which is paper. So obviously paper beats rock, and the game ends in a win because paper beats rock. And so you score a certain amount of points. And they describe that in the problem text. So if you win a round, you get 6 points. If you tie a round, you get 3 points here. And if you lose a round, you don't get any points. Additionally, you get points given what object you played. So no matter what, so independent of the outcome of the round, if you played rock, you get a point. If you play paper, you get 2 points. And if you play scissors, you get 3 points. The reason why in part 1 and part 2 I'm realizing now, I ended up having to swap wins and losses, so I treated wins as losses and losses as wins when I wrote my code, was because I made the assumption that after skimming that column A was what we are playing and column B is what the opponent was playing, but it's actually reverse. And so really my encoding of a win, I said that A, which is rock, beats scissors, which is Z. And that's true. The only problem is that A is what the opponent is playing, not what you're playing. And so if the gameplay is A to Z, it is a win, but for the opponent, which is a loss, right? So I'm trying to think about if there's a better way to have done this mapping. And I actually think there was, and it was something that I was considering at the start of, before hopping into this problem. But I'll save that little trick for another time. But essentially, we just want to score. For every line, we have to read out what the opponent played, what we played, and then score the round. And so, I guess we can just write some code to clean things up. And actually, we can swap this over. We should probably swap these actually around. So yeah, if we played this Y and the opponent, so Y represents paper and paper will beat rock. So if we play paper and the opponent plays rock, we win. If we play Z is scissors and the opponent plays paper, we win. And then if we played rock, the opponent plays scissors, we win, right? Likewise, this should be if we play rock and the opponent plays scissors is C, we would win. if we play paper and the opponent plays, or sorry, we lose. Oh, but we want to do losses on this one. Yeah, if we played rock and the opponent plays paper, we would lose. If we play paper, the opponent plays scissors, we lose. And if we play scissors and the opponent plays rock, we lose. And then draws are just what would happen if things are the same. So X maps to A, Y maps to B, and this maps to C. There's probably actually another way we could do this too, instead of just checking all three conditions. So some sort of mapping where you figure out what the pairings, the unique pairings are, and you assign some score to them. But I think conceptually this is kind of easier. So these are mappings of if we play this and the opponent plays this, we would win. Likewise for losing and drawing. And then the score is represented. So like, remember, regardless of what happens, if we play rock, paper, scissors, we get 1, 2, and 3 points respectively. And so part 1 is just asking, so I guess we can score part 1 and part 2 simultaneously. Well, no, let's do them separately. So the first step is we want to manipulate the input. So for every line of the input, we need to read the first character and read the second character. Simple enough, right? We can just split on the space and then unpack the tuple into, like, I guess, us and opponent, right? And then we want to score the round. So if we win, so for example, if wins of what we played is equal to what the opponent played, we get 6 points for the win, plus whatever character we happened to play. Sorry, whether we threw rock, paper, scissors, we get that as well, right? And if what we played compared to the opponent is a loss, we don't get any points here, but we do also get the point of scoring. Otherwise, we'll get 3 points and what we the value of what we threw. And I guess to make things cleaner, we can probably just unconditionally here add this, and then because we're always basically adding whatever we threw. So this corresponds to wins, losses, and draws, right? And so here, if we do that, and then we print out part 1 in the sample input, run that. Oh. Did I do this backwards? I messed it up again. The opponent throws the first character, and then what we play is the second character. So I made the same mistake as when I was solving the problem. This is all garbled. Oh no. I guess I have to do this and clear it, and then go back in. Whoops. Okay. So we'll just run that. Alright, so it'd be 15 points, and if we were to run it on our real input, it's what we expected for part 1. So part 2 kind of does what I assumed part 1 meant when I read strategy guide. So now it says, instead of the second round, or the second column indicating what we're playing, it's actually indicating how the round should end. And so X means we're trying to lose the game, Y means we're trying to win the game, or we want to draw the game, and Z means we want to win the game. And then we have to calculate points based on what it is that we are going to play to force the outcome that the game is asking us to do, and then calculate the score there. So now that I'm thinking about this, the way I had it before is actually kind of better for that, because we can do things based on what the opponent played. Okay, so actually the mistake of mapping ABC to XYZ instead of vice versa actually worked in my favor. This is kind of gonna be annoying. Okay. Is there a fast way to do this? Probably not. Bear with me while I change all of these back to what they were before. This was actually supposed to be X, and then this is going to be B to X, this is going to be C to Y, and this is going to be A to Z, and then this is just going to be... See, if this was Sublime Text here, I'd be able to like manipulate this really quickly, but I am not a Vim expert. And now these actually will flip because we're doing it from the perspective of the opponent rather than us. And here we want to say if the opponent's play compared to us, right? I will try to explain why I'm doing this in a sec, but I just want to make sure that this... Oh, did I do it backwards? Let's see. If the opponent plays rock, which corresponds to A, and we played scissors... Oh, this was right before. Okay, I didn't have to change these around. Let's just try to run this. We get the right answer. Okay. The reason I want to switch this is because part 2 is a little bit different, where we're going to still iterate over the same sort of thing, right? So we still want to iterate over all the lines, but we want, rather than this being us, the second line, it's what the outcome is supposed to be. And so if the outcome is equal to X, it says we want to lose the game. And so the question is, what do we need to do in order to lose the game, right? And so we know exactly what that is from this mapping, right? So let's take, for example, the first thing. So for A, right, the opponent chooses rock and says we need to end it in a draw. So we can look here into the draw dictionary, and it maps A to X, and X is our rock, which means we'll draw it there. So we can say that us from before should be equal to whatever the opponent happens to play, drawing it, and then we'll do a similar thing to part 1, where we're going to score what we played, and then remember it's a draw, so we're going to add 3. Sorry, that was for Y. Y is a draw. X is losing. It's saying we need to lose. So just to give the concrete example here, this would be line 2. So it's saying the opponent chooses paper and we need to lose. So if we need to lose to paper, we need to pick rock. And that's exactly what the loses table tells us. If we put B in, we get X, which is our rock. So the same logic applies. We want to do, what did I call it, losses? Probably loses makes more sense here, but whatever. And remember it's a loss, so it's just, the score is just plus whatever we did. And else, implicitly, it's going to be a win, right? We do wins of what we played, and then add on 6 because it's for a win, and that should get us the answer. So let's just run this, and 457 is what we expected. So yeah, interesting round. It makes a lot more sense now why I scored better on part 2. The way I fumbled part 1 actually made it a lot easier. Interestingly, if I had understood from the start that ABC is what the opponent is playing and Y, X, Z is what we were playing, the kind of human, I guess, I guess, intuition to put like mapping our gameplay to the opponent's gameplay probably would have made me put XYZ like in the first column and ABC in the second column, and that would have totally made part 2 harder. So yeah, I'm glad how this day turned out. The interesting complication here also was the fact that it wasn't just purely you're getting points based on the round outcome. There was this thing here. Your total, we're scoring like what shape we selected. Added a little bit of, like a tiny bit of complexity, like early parts of advent of code complexity to this problem. But otherwise, pretty chill problem. So, yep, that was day 2. I'll be back again for day 3, hopefully. Thank you for watching.